I'm Joe Murphy. I'm going to talk to you about leadership again, but I'm going to talk to you about leadership from the perspective of some of the ancients. What do I mean by the ancients? You see, the study of leadership is not a new thing. If you go back to the days of Socrates and Plato, and this is how it all came about, Aristotle, these were your teachers, your earliest teachers of leadership. From a personal standpoint, how to be better. One of the Stoic philosophers was Socrates. Then he taught Plato, and then he taught Aristotle. Now, I want you to remember this. This is how I remember it. The acronym SPA. Socrates taught Plato, Plato taught Aristotle. Or I should say, Aristotle was a student of Plato, Plato was a student of Socrates. If you look at it from that perspective, you get an understanding of some of these ancients and who they were. Now, Aristotle taught a person by the name of Alexander of Macedon. Alexander of Macedon had a vision. You may know Alexander of Macedon as Alexander the Great. Few people in the world were ever called the Great. Now, I know there's some radio personalities that have decided to call themselves the Great, but historians called him Alexander the Great. The people around him in his conquered lands called him Alexander the Great. Alexander studied leadership from the time he was 7 years old, and he was around in his home with generals because his father ran what is now known as Greece. Now, what happened is Alexander, when he took over from his father, had a very different vision of Greece from his father. Alexander went out and conquered all these lands, but instead of having them pay tribute to him and take over and ruin their villages, he made them into states. He brought together a different view of the world. He had, in his mind since the earliest of time, probably from Aristotle, this view of what could possibly be a vision. And so he brought his vision to what was known as the world at the time. You can start studying leadership, not if you didn't start studying leadership at 10 years old, you can start studying leadership now. Now, you cannot get Aristotle or somebody like Aristotle to teach you leadership or be surrounded with other great teachers. But you can pick up the books of other people who have written their own autobiographies or had biographies written about them, or people who have been in leadership positions and got their words down on paper, their ideas, their concepts. And when you study these people, you start picking up ideas and you start modeling these ideas by putting them into practice. Because reading is critical, okay? And it works this way. You can go to class all you want or reading, but it's not until you apply it that you really get to understand it. And when you understand something, you make it yours. I'm going to say that again. When you understand something, because you've learned it from someone else, and then you apply it, it becomes yours because you've made it yours. You've adapted the information to the circumstances or the situation. This is so critical. Now, I recommend in my earlier videos, in fact, one of my first videos, I said, read an hour a day. Read 1 hour a day. Get up an hour earlier in the morning and take the time to read a book and take notes. I'm looking for one of my notebooks. And take notes. Now, people say, well, I can't. The kids are running around. Well, I'm not saying do it when your kids are in the house. Get up an hour earlier before they do. I can't because I go to bed late. Go to bed an hour earlier. Your body will appreciate it. By the way, I've seen 30 years of sunrises in my time, and I've still seen the sunset. Sunrises are much more beautiful than any sunset. I'm Joe Murphy. Remember SPA. This could be your Aristotle if you learned to study each day for at least 1 hour. And I'm here for your success.